Hi there, my name is Sherry. I write under my initials S.A. Larsen, and this is my young adult contemporary fantasy romance, Marked Beauty. It's about a girl who must use her ability to see and feel the life energy of people to help her best friend who's in a coma. But in doing so, she lures a dark, mysterious boy into her world, and with him, a sinister energy and a curse that threatens not only her life, but her soul. So I'm going to read you the first chapter, and it is entitled Denial. Here we go. Anastasia realized almost immediately that attending the rally was a mistake, but she was in too deep to do anything about it. Fidgety students filed into Traverse High Gymnasium. Football and soccer captains slapped palms in high fives, and cheerleaders scurried around in skin-tight skirts like Mad Hatters wearing hair bows, only minus the tea party. Anna fell into line with the rest of the teen herd and shuffled sideways on her bleacher. She'd gotten pretty good at playing the part of being the average student. The junior behind her cracked a joke to a nearby senior who elbowed the guy in front of him for his 2 cents. Something about a party last weekend. No one included Anna in the discussion, which was fine. She was no stranger to being unnoticed. It wasn't that she liked it. It was the way that it had to be. An auburn tangle slipped from behind her ear. Long hair somewhat kept, but not overdone. No earrings and a no-name t-shirt had the same effect as an invisibility cloak. She rubbed the tip of her nose, irritated by the floral perfume wafting past her. Fixed scents were a no-no for her, as was the smell of food. Keeping those to a minimum reduced the extra stimuli she needed to avoid in large crowds. The volume of chatter rose as more students settled into seats and private gossip. Some girl cried over a breakup with her boyfriend, and a friend barked her know-it-all advice. 2 freshman boys compared notes about which mountain bike trail they should conquer. Anna struggled to find a slice of serenity amid the chaos. It was how she controlled her inner demons. Her eyes darted from the far wall of concrete to the rafter banners overhead. She had to concentrate on something to dull the emotions flooding in from all these kids. She settled on a piece of brand new wooden floor. Its sheen reminded her of the horizon where the lake met the setting sun. She inhaled to focus and absent-mindedly tapped the satchel at her hip to help conjure the calm. A daydream gaze clouded her eyes. She'd blocked out most of the commotion. Members of various teams ambled onto the floor, including Josh, her neighbor and stud captain of the hockey team. He lifted his chin in her direction, his sandy brown hockey hair settling at the back of his neck. "Shootout later? My house?" He mouthed and thumbed his chest. Other than biting her bottom lip, Anna's face remained blank. He chuckled. Being her self-reported surrogate big brother, he clearly recognized her avoidance tactic. Her insides clenched, a reminder of what a sucky friend she was. But keeping the real reason she evaded attention a secret from Josh was as much for him as it was for her. Swallowing her own emotions, she gave him a discreet scrunch-up of her nose, and some track jock yelled his name. He winked at her before he jogged toward the others near the school band set up by the far side of the gym. A group of flirt queens snorted and rolled their eyes in perfect synchronization at her. It was pretty impressive. The fact that Anna failed to fawn over Josh made her weirder than she already was in their etiquette book of high school gossip, popularity, and social skills. According to them, an invite from him should send Anna into a tizzy. He was every bit a hockey player, after all. Most knew he was friends with Anna and figured it was because she played hockey too. But that wasn't it. They just got each other. With a clandestine smile teasing her lips, she gazed back across the gym. Josh's outline fuzzed over, and her smile evaporated. She looked again, still fuzzy as though her eyes were dry. She mentally slapped herself for being distracted and for letting herself think that she could control this in such a big crowd. Tired or dry eyes were not the reason for what she saw. Air warmed. Too many eager bodies crammed in one space. Her fingers folded over the lip of the bleacher she sat on. As she leaned forward, she wouldn't let this happen without a fight. Dropping her chin, she searched for a detail, anything to simplify the chaos. The shiny floor, the wrestling mats heaped in a corner, the god-ugly hair clip the chick in front of her wore. But it was too late. Her peripheral vision already captured an orange stream of energy invading the canary yellow of some perky girl's outline. Dang it! She blinked to ease to erase the colors, or at the very least, make them fade so she could overlook them. Pretending the colors, emotions, and lights weren't there wasn't a perfect science, but it worked. Sometimes. Only she needed to calm down, or it would definitely fail. Breathe in, breathe out. Good thoughts. You'll crush Josh in a shootout later. Send pucks by him so he won't even see them, and I'll have to buy you ice cream again. Come on, Anna. A flutter gripped her heart, a distant memory that always wanted to be felt. She ground her teeth in defiance and peeked through her narrowed eyes. Nothing would ruin today. Not that today held anything special, really. Days like that had disappeared long ago. Tension drained from her face. Air swept over her lips in a gentle sigh, and the colors grew fainter. A little success was better than nothing. She shook her head, not much, just enough to scold herself. Anna spotted Katie on the bleachers across from her, head back in a flirtatious laugh, distracting a threesome of senior boys in her pink tank top and perfect blonde locks. What she wouldn't give to feel that free. She nibbled on her bottom lip, embracing her Katie distraction, forever mystified by her best friend's flair with boys. It wasn't that Anna was uncomfortable around boys, just another essential avoidance. The band played a few chords to warm up. Anna's body stiffened at the intrusive interruption. Didn't they know she needed to focus? Okay, so they didn't know, but still. Was a year-ending pep rally to kick off the summer sports sessions really necessary? Schedules were posted on the school website, and everybody knew it anyway. A boy 2 rows down from her tossed a lighter to someone behind her. Metal hinged clanked from shifting weight. Bodies lifted from their seats and arms flailed in an attempt to intercept the 1-by-2-inch piece of flammable plastic. Anna's body jolted forward as she took a knee to the left kidney and lost control of her focus. Thin veins of blue, tangerine, and lime burst from each student's silhouettes. Their life energy auras glowed in unique shades and speeds, only visible to her. She should have listened to Kitty and skipped this stupid rally. Her throat tightened. She tried to swallow, but couldn't. The inside of her cheeks already felt burnt, swollen nodules of raw flesh, like when her soup was too hot, but she ate it anyway. The more the crowd moved, shouted, and laughed, the denser the colors became. Drum shook her ribcage as the band lit up with a school song. Anna braced herself for the influx of energy. A deluge flooded every cell in her body with the intensity of the sun raining fire or sheets of ice coating her skin. She kept her face dismissive, ordinary, and easy to pass by, but her mind screeched at her to leave. Only she was in the stinking middle of the bleachers with no inconspicuous exit. To her left, garnet trendles of life energy pulsated in the air. She sensed fear in them and anger. No. She felt rage, deceit, envy, insecurity. A spectrum of emotions reared up in the life energy auras of these kids. Panic wrenched at her stomach. Nausea was on its way, and after that, well, she wouldn't only get noticed, she'd be center stage. Creating a scene wouldn't happen. She twisted her hair elastic on her wrist, round and round and round. Prickling flooded her hand, her fingers bloating with trapped blood. Throb 1, throb 2, throb 3. That was good. Pain she could concentrate on. The throngs of excited voices died down. The energy abated. She could do this. Blackness painted the insides of her eyelids. She struggled to find any spare elastic left. She tugged on it. A rough edge cut into the backside of her wrist, but that didn't matter. Twist once, and again. Deeper throbbing ignited. Air released from her lungs, and she soaked in the sensation. Lights in the gym dimmed. Spotlights blinked on and off. She twisted the elastic again as a foreign aura emerged somewhere in the crowd. The energy was odd, enticing like when she craved a candy bar. Need stirred her gut. Life energy had never made her want it before. Pressure wrapped her forehead in an abrupt headache, and an eerie chill clawed at her exposed skin. Then the sensation of the other life energies dulled, replaced by a level of despair she'd never felt before, and fear. Except that emotion belonged to her. Cheers exploded As one school chant was followed by another, Anna squinted, trying to find what she'd already sensed. A black mass of energy hovered an inch off the floor near the double doors to the north hallway. What the? Tension released on the hair elastic. It unwound, leaving it loose and limp with no control. A shadow with no person to cast it made no sense, but it was what she saw. Anna scanned the crowd of students, searching their life energy auras for what she didn't know. She looked back towards the double doors. The dark mass didn't only resemble a shadow, but essentially a void, hollowed-out energy, empty, dark, hopeless. It did hold physical consistency, a round rippling mirror blurring the reflection. She scrunched her eyes shut. This was so dumb. Summer break started tomorrow, and summer equaled less people near her. There is nothing here, she whispered with conviction to herself. But her sensitivity to energy was past the point of pretending it wasn't there. The dark space crept forward, curving its shape to weave in between students and faculty. A semi-transparent sheen trailed its wake, like its own shadow, only vacant. Wasn't there at least one person here beside her who could sense being watched? No one appeared affected. Anna spotted the dark shape stalled by the basketball players near the band. Thin, ragged fingers sprouted out from both sides, extending to a red-headed boy. Joints congealed, 2 wrists, elbows, almost to the broad set of shoulders. The moment a finger touched his life energy, he stopped shooting and yawned. The green of his aura faded. A few seconds later, he dragged the back of his hand across his forehead. Anna gawked back at the redhead, who had collapsed on a nearby bench. A coach knelt beside him, while a cheerleader offered him a bottle of water. Had that thing hurt him? She hated that she was the only one who could see it, almost as if it heard her unspoken decision. The dark space retracted its wisps. Anna was already halfway down the bleachers, not caring who she bumped into in the process. It would only be a few who'd notice. The dark space nodded and bent until it molded into the cutout of a person, still a void, but in the shape of a man with broad shoulders, slim build, and eyes of glowing violet that happened to be honed in on Josh. Anna stumbled over the last bleacher. The thing angled his eyes at her. If he'd had a mouth, she was sure he'd be grinning. He skulked toward Josh. No! Her brain shrilled before it shut down, giving way to a different Anna. Anger, defiance, and terror oozed from her pores. A beat she'd never heard before pounded in her head. She raced across the floor. A teacher yelled, and the flirt queens called her names, but Anna ignored them. She only wanted to keep that thing away from her friend. She slammed into the farthest concrete wall of the gym. Her hand rose in the air, and she pulled. Metal engaged. Light bulbs flashed and eventually flickered out, only to be replaced by the glow of floodlights. The first sound Anna heard was the swish of water. Screams came about 3 seconds later. Some turned to high-pitched laughter, while others silenced. A breeze picked up and swirled around Anna. Something stung her eyes. She blinked, but that didn't help. She rubbed them and her fingers came away wet. No, more than wet. And so was she. Her hair was dripping and water puddled at her feet. She flipped her head back to free her face from her drenched tangles. Her eyes widened. There she stood with the entire school gawking at her and her fingers still strangling the fire alarm. That was chapter 1. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot for listening.